So we have here a new puppy. He's so little and cute and sweet. A little skinny, but he's eating well. He's asleep right now, but we're gonna play a little game. And as he grows, see if you guys can figure out what kind of dog he is. That'll be fun. I'm working on filling in all of these holes on the dashboard. Got these are ground down, so I've got smooth bare metal around the edges, and I need to make plates to fill in there, and I can weld those in. I've got this one, I've got this one, and then when I get those done, I'm still working my way across. I'll end up fixing this. This speaker grill is going to go away too, and that's going to be smoothed in. So start working on making these little plates. So I'm doing this is all the sheet metal that I had from the floor pans, and I'm using this as the scrap, the parts that was left over, and I'm cutting little strips out to fill in these holes that I've got on the dash. And here's a small strip. It's very close to fitting, but I still need to round off the edges, and I need to get this ground down. So I get it out cut in a relatively generalized shape. And I just keep test fitting. So looks like horizontally I've got it. I've got just a little bit of a gap right there. Just what I want. Check the length of it. It's a little long, so I still need to trim it just a little bit. When I get this finished up, move on to the next one, and the next one, and so on, and I've got 8 of them total to fill across all of these holes that I've got. Round off the edges. You see I've got a pretty good fit, both in length and width. This one's still just a little bit long. I'm going to have to knock that one down a little bit. I'll get this one filled in, and then start laying these in here. I've cleaned up all of these little plates here so I can get a good contact on them. Sit them down in here, and I've got a nice gap all the way around that I can work with. I'll get these as flush as possible. A little high right down here on the bottom, but up here on the top, pretty close to where I need it to be. I'm going to find a spot where it's nice and smooth. It's perfect right along here, so I'm going to go ahead and tack it in. This one here's got a curvature to it, a little bit more intimidating, but it's the same process. Start back here, get this edge lined up, find a spot where it is going to be perfectly lined up, and then knock it down as I need to. We're going to be right here towards the center. Flush spot right there. I'm going to have to knock this down on both ends. stupid. And the metal, like I said, the metal is so thin that I'm gonna have to let this cool now. I can't touch it, it's too hot. And it's getting hot very, very quickly. So I'm gonna let that cool down. I'm gonna keep working my way down the line here. And then I'll come back and I'm gonna tap that down a little bit. And I'm gonna get in there with a hammer and a dolly and I'll probably work that. So I've got this little piece right here. I've got it tacked in 3 spots where it's flat. And I push this down just a little bit, but it's still high right here, and it's also very high right up here, and I can push that down, but looks like I may actually have a little bit of interference on the very tip right here, so I'm going to have to knock that down with a file, and then I'm going to have to knock this down. So what I'm going to do is use a dolly and a hammer. I'm going to knock that down. And then there's going to be a little bit of interference, so I'm going to take that right back here and I'm going to knock this with a file. So I'm tacking, just a little tack here, and I'm working my way from the passenger side over. And as you see, the farther I get over towards the passenger side, the more tacks I've. So here, these are the last 2 that I'm working on, and you can see that right here it's just a little high, so I'm going to have to work that down. And then right here, it's a lot high, and what I did was I got it perfect back here, and then I got this side lined up, and now I can get this side lined up, and then peel this down and around as it makes this arch over the dash. But so let me show you how I do that. Okay, so let me show you how I wrap this around this contour right here. So the good thing is, because these were all stamped out, these weren't cut from the factory, they were stamped out, and it creates a slight indentation in the metal. So there's actually little low spots. So if I get this flush and I grind this smooth, when I come back over here with body filler, I'm actually going to fill in all of these spots that are ultimately going to be low spots. But so that's working out, and this one is no different. And when I get it all ground down, I'll be able to show you a lot better. But I'm going to tack it right here, and then I'm going to start working this piece down so it fits flush. So I got that one tack in, and I'm going to let it cool. I'm not going to try to push the issue yet. What I'm doing is I'm taking the tip of my hammer and I'm just using that as a tool. Try to kind of push it and mold it, bend it down a little bit. And just work it. Got it flush here on both sides, so I'm going to hit it on one side and then I'm going to wait. So again, I'm going to let that cool, and this is all in real time, just to kind of show you how long I'm taking between these tacks. So this is still a little bit high. This right here is flush where I want it to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit that real quick because it's not too hot. And this tip is still a little bit high, but now this whole section is too hot to work. So I'm gonna come over here to this one, and you see how this tip is still high. If I can push it down with my thumb, actually that worked. So I was able to push it down with my thumb, and now it's sitting flush where it needs to be. So I'll talk that in real quick. Now this piece is in, and all I'm going to have to do is, as this cools, I'm going to have to fill in these little spots. And I'm also taking my water brush and cleaning up the soot so I can actually see what areas need to be welded. So now this one here is cooled enough. It's still a little high, so I want to tap it down. Got that flush. Actually, it feels like I've got it flush here on the tip, but it's a little low over here. So I'm going to hit it right there on the tip, and then I'm going to get underneath it just to make sure that's flush. So what I have found to be remarkably successful for grinding down welds on really thin pieces is, without thinning out the metal, I just use a cutoff disc. And I'll come in here vertically, and I'll just take the tops of these down. There's still some holes and some things that I have to fill in, but I want to get as much of this extra metal out of the way as I can. Makes it easier to see what I'm doing and fill in the rest of it. See, it's very smooth. There's still a little bit of I can still feel it, but it's pretty dang close. And all I'm trying to do is just hit these welds. Now I can see I've got a hole here, got a hole up here. There's a couple little small holes right there that I need to take. With all these areas ground down, it's nice and smooth. Not worried about pinholes if I have the bitty little tiny ones. But I went back over and I got them. I got most of them, so I'm not really too concerned with it now. And you can see how it actually kind of curves in. It's a low spot. When I block this, it'll be flush. So I've taped this off, and so I need to come in here, and I'm going to cut along this tape line, cut this piece of grill out, because it'll be a lot easier to weld in a new plate than it will be to fill in each of those holes. There it is, got that piece cut out. Let's take this tape off, get these edges cleaned up, make a new piece for it. Here I've got this piece of metal, I've marked it, the arrow is facing inside. It's got a slight bend to it, and despite not wanting to, there's a compound bend because there is a slight bow to it in both directions. But I've been setting it in here, fitting it, playing with it, getting it trimmed out, and this one actually went pretty fast compared to most of the things that I've had to make. I've got a nice little gap all the way around. I've got perfect right here. So I'm going to go ahead and tack it in, and I'm going to start working my way around and get this thing fit properly. So when I said a little bit, I mean just a little bit. This is probably too much. Whoop, 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 whoop. Sitting here for just a little while. I don't want to take any chances. Just a little. I'm going to start from the edge and just like that. I found that the other stuff, maybe it's the temperature. I don't know, it's 95 degrees right now. Maybe that has something to do with it, but spreading it on, I'm just going to put it on, I'm going to try to push it into all of the cracks. I should have more than enough to do all of these little holes here. And what will inevitably happen, I have found, is that I'll get all the stuff laid in here and I'll sand it down, and then I'll find a little low spot or a high spot that I have to end up working again. Never fails. I've never been able to do this perfect on the first try. All right, with the temperature, the way everything's been going, this will take about 10 or 15 minutes to completely set up, and then I can come in here and I can sand it back down again. Everything else is smoothed out, so I think that once I get this done, I'm going to keep it with the 180, and I'll go ahead and mask this off once I get this filled in, and I'll spray the dash with epoxy, and I'm very anxious to see, because that epoxy is going to show. Hopefully I've done the body work well enough that it looks good, but the epoxy is going to show if I've made mistakes, so we're going to find out together. One thing that I haven't mentioned up to this point is that there are also holes in the front, and the lighting is going to be terrible. There are these little holes here in the front, and I'm going to have to come in here and figure out a way to weld those in. So this is 180 grit, and according to the tech sheet on the body filler, I can start sanding at 180 grit, so let's see if it works. Alright, well, I'm going to work on getting these smoothed out, but this is what I'm doing. I'm going in a crosshatch or zigzag pattern. The entire panel is running in this general direction, so I'm running perpendicular but in a zigzag pattern across that length of the panel. Favorite product, isopropyl. Back and wipe this off and see what we've got to work with here. I'm probably, well, I don't know, a good hour of solid work on this little panel right here, and sanding, trying to get this all smoothed out and laid out and even. And this is just a small panel, and it's only a couple spots, so I can see why body work across the whole vehicle takes so long. So I've still got 6 of these holes along the front of the dash. I've got 1 right here, I've got 2 in the center, and then 3 over on the passenger side. So I've taken some sandpaper and I've cleaned this all out. And I'm going to try to fill this in with weld, knock the tip down, throw some filler on it, and hope that that actually does the trick. I don't know for sure. Let's put that anywhere. I don't know for sure if that's the right thing to do or if it's going to even work, but I know that you can fill holes like this. It's not very difficult. I don't have a backer. If I had a backer plate or something, it'd make this a lot easier, but I don't have anything. I need copper or aluminum. I don't think I have anything, so I'm just going to try to make do with what I've got, which is nothing, but try. Looks like crap. I'm going to grind it down. See what it looks like. That actually worked. It's smooth. I can throw a little bit of filler on that, sand that down. So let me get to these holes. I'll meet back up with you when I've got these finished. And then sand this all down, get it cleaned up, and get it into epoxy. That'll be the end of this video when I get there. One coat, I still need to put a second coat on. Looking for any kind of differences, highs or lows, anything like that. It looks very nice. It's kind of soaking in a little bit to the filler, I'm guessing, because it's somewhat porous, more so than the metal. But hit it with a second coat. Oh, you've got to be freaking kidding me. What the heck? Oh my, there's a spot right there. I didn't see it. Doggone it. Those holes right there in the front, along the front, are filled. Looks good. Very happy with it. Let's get the second coat on. I have to fix that. That's going to drive me nuts. Ah, man. That's not even... Is that where one of the welds is? It's not even a friggin' weld there. That sucks. Alright, well, I'll get that taken care of, but that's it for this one. Just trust me that I'm going to get to that. But I'm going to get this video put together. This has been a very tedious, very long process. But I appreciate you sticking around with me this far, and I don't know what's next. Still need to throw primer down on the dash and paint it, so maybe that. Don't forget. But you guys take care. Thanks for watching.